JJ Stankovitz back here at the NFL Combine with NFL Network and NFL.com. Cynthia Frelund, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with your most recent mock draft, which, like several mock drafts that I have seen for the Colts, had the Colts drafting Penn State tight end Tyler Warren with the 14th overall pick. What do you like about that fit for the Colts? What do you like about that player and the draft profile he has?
Well, first of all, I have to say I am a huge Lou Anarumo fan. Like, when it comes to
we'll get into that, yeah.
So I wanted very badly to give him a defensive player, but I liked Tyler Warren's upside and profile so much, and the fact that it fits well with at least what I believe is the plan here, right? The offensive strategy and the ability. Like, there's some special tight ends in this draft class, and I think the ability to help out a quarterback that is mobile and able to, you know, maybe don't need to take so many shots downfield. Maybe make it a little bit easier. Best friend of a quarterback, tight end. I don't know. Maybe it's a running back. Who knows? We like that running back here too.
With Tyler Warren, him being that inline kind of wide tight end, where when he's on the field, it's not a tell of if you're going to throw or you're going to run. When I looked at Shane Steichen when he was in Philadelphia, that split in 21 and 22 with Dallas Goedert was basically 50-50. When he was on the field, it was an even split.
Yep.
That seems to kind of be the goal of getting that guy at tight end, is you want that even split.
You'd think so, right? You don't want to tell. If you're looking at the other interesting thing is that this year specifically with inline tight ends that are disguises, so look at the Eagles like that, it has helped drive up the expected and the actual rushing yards for a running back. So instead of 3.5, 3.7 yards, it's like up over 4.2, 4.3, which doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is. Over the course of the game,
it is, right,
it is.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more.
Over 1,000 carries.
Right.
Yeah.
And also it's a lot more explosive plays too, which are those who that travel at least 10 yards.
So when you look at this draft, you know, we just talked about Tyler Warren. I feel like I've talked about Tyler Warren with pretty much everyone here.
Right.
Give me 3 or 4 other guys who you think would be good fits for the Colts at 14.
The hard part is that I'm so confused this season about where we're going to see quarterbacks go, where we're going to see, like, I think this is a very light offensive line class. I think this is so I think it's going to, the top of the draft is going to be very interesting. We'll know more after free agency. Like, this isn't really affect you. Like this, you know, that like you're at 14, so you're only affected by who maybe jumps ahead of you. Great defensive tackle class. Okay. Maybe to me, like, I keep saying how much I like the Michigan corner. I think he could
Will Johnson.
Yeah, he could be an asset to pretty much any team. I like the idea. Like, your defense is better than it looked last year, in my opinion. I told Zaire Franklin at the Pro Bowl, I was like, you're not going to lead the league in tackles next year. And he's like, what? And I was like, not because you're not awesome. I'm like, you're just not going to have to do that. Like, you're just like, it's not a shade. It's a positive. You're not going to have to do that, right? Like, you'll get some help up front. So, to me, that could be an interesting. I would stick with, this is kind of a light wide receiver class. Maybe a wide receiver, but I like the tight ends. I don't. Maybe go the other tight end. Maybe Michigan. I don't know. Who depends on who's available. But to me, I'm trying to stick with corner, maybe wide receiver, and I love that tight end.
Okay, so you teased it right off the top.
Yep.
You really like Lou Anarumo.
He's amazing.
What do you like about his fit with this defense and the players the Colts have on that defense?
Well, you don't always have to play zone. So ultimately, what Lou really does well is find the pieces of a particular defense and make them perform at their optimal kind of rate. So he was the guy who was the first to stop Patrick Mahomes. I know it was a long time ago. You know, the Bengals went to the Super Bowl because they stopped Patrick Mahomes. They figured out the 2 safety shells and figured out how to, like, keep everything in front of the guys who needed it in front of them and keep everything in arm's reach of the guys who needed it in arm's reach of them. So that's where you're going to see this defense excel. With guys in the middle of the defense, like the Bengals defense was tough this year because they didn't spend any money in free agency. Many of their rookies were hurt. Like the middle of that defense. DJ Reader went up to Detroit, then he got hurt there too. But whatever. Like, that's where he's going to shore up the middle and figure out how to keep everything kind of like in the middle of the field. Not, you know, I don't think you're going to see as many opportunities to get kind of beat behind you like that. Like, it's not going to. There's be more man. Sorry, I don't. And then and ultimately, like, the middle of the defense will be shored up.
The way that Shane Steichen described Lou is that he's always going to have a plan to take away the opponent's best player. And that is something the Colts did kind of struggle with this past season, is they got beat by guys who you would expect to do that. And it's very easy to say, we're just going to take away,
everyone would like to take away the team's best player.
You'd love to take away Nico Collins.
Right.
Very easy to say that. It's not as easy to do that.
Right.
But you're saying Lou has that proven track record of being able to do that.
And in-game adjustments are where he, if you look at the course of his entire tenure at the Bengals, his in-game adjustments, meaning points per game and first downs allowed, he is the best first to second half in-game adjuster. Now, there are some adjustments for that, but he's very, very good at in-game adjustments as well, which is huge.
So you mentioned Zaire Franklin and the conversation you had with him.
Love him.
Who do you think is if you're going to circle one player on this Colts defense who can take a big step with Lou Anarumo as the defensive coordinator, who comes to mind?
The weird part is I'm also going to say Zaire Franklin, not because he didn't lead the league in tackles. We already know that. But I think that giving him more latitude to tell other people what to do, I think I think he could be, we're talking all pro. I'm saying he could go from, so I think that's a big jump, right? That's that could be it could go that high. All pro is a really hard thing to get, not just Pro Bowl, all pro.
When you look at this Colts team, where do you feel like the biggest need is for them that they need to address this offseason, whether it's through free agency, through the draft, or both?
The hard part for me is that I would like to do whatever I need to do to ensure that my quarterback is optimally efficient. It is very hard to get quarterback right in this league, and you don't need everyone to be quarterback number one, meaning you don't need Patrick Mahomes on every team. So what are the things that I would go get every potential thing to help my guy out? There are very few offensive linemen in free agency. There are very few, wide receiver, very few as well. I would go get rotational players and be fine if I'm wrong, but take some swings on some guys who aren't the super, super premium guys and be fine if I'm wrong. Give me weird gadgety receivers that help. Give me things that make sense to my guy. Give me 3 inline tight ends and then draft 1 too. I know that doesn't sound sexy and it's going to be what are you doing? But you're actually not wasting. Sometimes you have to try a few before you get them right because there aren't that many truly elite players. It's just by virtue of the way that the law of averages work. So go get me Lamar Jackson treatment me, right? They gave Lamar Jackson so many tight ends. It was unbelievable, right? Do that for him. Who cares if you trade one later? Doesn't sound like a bad problem. Sounds like a bad problem to have.
So, this division the Colts are in, where the winners of it have won 10 games, 9 games, 10 games.
Yep.
Where do you think the Colts are in terms of the Colts haven't won the division since 2014? Where do you think this team is in terms of their ability to contend for a division this year, or how long do you think it'll take for this team to contend for a division?
I think this team has home run. It's going to, I don't think this is a base hit situation. I think given the division, given the opportunity, meaning the division is very achievable this year, I think this could be a home run or it could strike out. It all really depends on your quarterback.
And that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
So
supporting your quarterback is best. Now, a good defense will help. The right pieces will help. But I think this comes down to how does the team again, you don't need to have quarterback 1. He doesn't need to somehow morph into Patrick Mahomes, right? He can be quarterback 11 in the league and be A+. That would be A+.
What do you think about Anthony Richardson right now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think about. Do you know what I'm saying? The data is so, sometimes the data tracks great. Sometimes the data tracks not great. There is a lot of irregularity as to when that happens. It feels like the same plays are being called and there's a different outcome. And you see that a little bit, but there's more variance in his results than there are in other similarly profiled quarterbacks. I think part of that is lack of experience because he didn't play a ton in college but his body type and he's a great lump of clay, but I don't know, I think it could go either, it's bifurcated big time.
Think about in baseball, some scouts will tell you, guys need 1,000 at-bats, 1,500 at-bats, 2,000 at-bats in the minors before they are ready for the major leagues.
Yep.
Anthony Richardson's thrown 741 passes since he graduated high school in games that matter between college and the NFL. Is there an optimal number of pass attempts, of snaps, of games that a quarterback does need to hit to start really building on who they can be?
If I'm honest, I say, yeah, I don't know what the number is, but it's something it does exist. Like, people are always like, well, Jaden Daniels is a winner. I'm like, well, he did win, yes. I don't know who he is because I still don't know who Caleb Williams is. So I'm not willing to say, and those guys are younger, right? So it's like, if I'm going to I have to measure everyone with the same stick. So yeah, he had a great rookie season, and that was epic. He seems to be tracking well, but I'm not ready to crown him yet. I mean, C.J. Stroud, we would have said the same thing about last year, and then he really struggled against zone defense this year.
That's a really interesting point. Just last one here, because you brought up C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
And the regression that he had statistically, were there anything underlying in that told you he still got it in him?
Yeah.
Maybe they just need a change somewhere, and obviously they made the change at offensive coordinator after the season.
Something's up there. I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll hear it in a 30 for 30 later. But because Laramie Tunsil was injured, then was playing weird. That was not great. Their interior O-line allowed the most sacks. That was not great. It didn't feel like they had great solutions for when a problem happened. It didn't feel like they were like, oh, this is how we fix it. So I don't really know. Perhaps the change at OC will help. I don't think he's not a good player anymore. I don't think he's we don't throw him out. We're not discarding him in any way, shape, or form. But, I think it's hard to, whatever was going on there, it's hard to win when it's that. I mean, when your interior line lets you down like that, It's really hard.
Cynthia Frelund from NFL.com and NFL Network. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.